That's my best friend. That's my best friend.
At number 10 on the most influential players in NBA history, I have Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, Hakeem Olajuwon, he was a big man who could do it all, and in my opinion, he's the most skilled center in NBA history. So why I have him at number 10 on my list? His post moves are unreal. I mean, he was the first guy to kind of incorporate the soccer footwork into basketball. I mean, his reverse pivots, his up and unders, just his head fakes and everything. It's really unmatched, and the only player you could argue is a guy like Kevin McHale, who had the same footworks, pump fakes, and all that stuff. Now, Hakeem Olajuwon's impact on footwork, it goes to guards, centers, even to point guards. I mean, he's helped guys like Kobe, Dwight, LeBron, and even Amari Stoudemire. So his impact is felt worldwide and even just in the NBA in general at every position. Now, another reason I have Hakeem at number 10 is because he was the first African-born player to win MVP, and he's had a huge impact globally, especially in Africa with spreading the popularity of basketball, along with guys like Dikembe Mutombo, Serge Ibaka, and Joel Embiid. So that's why I have Hakeem Olajuwon at number 10. Now, at number 9, I do have Kobe Bryant, and I know his fans will get mad at this, but I mean, Kobe, you always go back to it. I mean, he was Michael Jordan's carbon copy, and it's hard to kind of make an imprint of your own on the league when Michael Jordan already did that, so I'm just clarifying that before I go. But Kobe Bryant, he was a huge inspiration to a whole generation of basketball fans, and even recently he has the Mamba Skills Academy, which is a really cool thing. He's training the next generation, and going off that, he has huge influence in today, training players and just giving them advice. He challenged Giannis to be an MVP. He's worked out with guys like Kyrie, Devin Booker, and even Jason Tatum. And he also helped carry on the legacy of Michael Jordan and the importance of winning championships. I know people today try to devalue championships, but Kobe and his fans, they still keep it alive today, while the championships matter and that they do affect a player's legacy. At number 8, I have Julius the Dr. Erving. Now, Dr. J, he's responsible for basically incorporating the ABA into the NBA, and he really helped the merger, and he showed the NBA kind of commissioners and executives that the ABA was more than a gimmick league, and he did that by his slam dunks, which he's known for. I call him the godfather of the slam dunk because he really did pioneer that, winning the first slam dunk contest. And as I said before, he helped the ABA and NBA merge, and he really did carry the ABA for basically all of its existence. I think I read in his book all the games he played for the Virginia Squires and the New Jersey Nets. I mean, they were always sold out, and just looking at the landscape of the ABA, they were struggling for revenue, and Dr. J was their only kind of mega superstar who sold out every game he went to. Now, something people don't know about Dr. J is he was one of the first African American athletes, male or female, to appear on television regularly and kind of enter the household of the average American. You had people like O.J. Simpson, who was also African American, but those were the first two kind of influenced social culture and just kind of transcended both those markets of being in the NBA and in the entertainment industry. So that's why I have Dr. J at number 8. At number 7, I do have Allen Iverson. And I know Allen Iverson has a huge rabid fan base. They would argue he's the most influential player ever. I really don't see that, but I do have him in this top 10 list. And I see his impact in the early 2000s on hip-hop culture and his merging those two roles of the NBA. He did have a brief rap career, and I know he does have one kind of good song, but they never did release, and he tried to merge those two things, and the NBA kind of pushed back. They implemented the dress code, which kind of shaped the later 2000s and even today, with players showing up wearing suits and then wearing whatever they want, like Russell Westbrook today. So I think Allen Iverson had a huge impact on the culture of the NBA, and he's still impacting people today. You hear people put reference on his name, like LeBron James, and say how impactful he was, kind of influencing the culture and just making LeBron James want to go get tattoos, and he made that the norm for the NBA. Prior to Allen Iverson, you really didn't have players getting tattoos or braids, and I mean, just go look back at some of the games, you'll rarely see a player with a tattoo or just like a different hairstyle, braids, or anything. I mean, Allen Iverson definitely had an impact outside the game of basketball. And the impact I think he's actually more known for, and he should be more known for, is his global impact in China in the early 2000s. If you watch the Allen Iverson documentary, you'll see him and Yao Ming, they traveled to China. And Allen Iverson, he actually was kind of the star in the NBA globally. And that was really known in the documentary, as I saw. And I would argue that Allen Iverson being a small guard who scores a lot, I think he's pretty easy to root for. I think everyone knows that, and globally that just kind of captured the mind of people in Asia and even around the world. I know he was a huge fan favorite in the US also. So I have Allen Iverson at number 7. At number 6, we kind of have another controversial one. I have LeBron James, and some of his fans would argue he's top 3 influential. I'll show you why that's not the case, and I have pretty good reasoning why I have him at number 6. Putting him above AI, I think that's generous enough, and I think you could easily swap him in AI and move LeBron back. But the reason I have LeBron James at number 6 is he impacted the whole player mobility era and the way he was able to kind of transcend the market and to show players they have a voice, they have the opportunity to take control of their careers, and they don't owe a debt to their own team. And in 2011, that kind of took hold, and he was able to have the decision, whether you liked it or not, that did change the NBA forever. I mean, free agency today is a huge event. It's basically the NBA season, extended. I mean, it's a whole event itself. Some would argue it's more important and more impactful and just playing out more exciting than the regular season, 82 games. I know this past offseason with 20 superstars or 20 stars just swapping teams. I mean, it was madness. And LeBron James, I don't know if you want to say he's responsible in a bad way. I'm saying he's responsible in a good way for players being mobile and understanding that they do have a voice and can kind of take control of their own careers. At number 5, I have Dirk Nowitzki. And many people don't understand the impact Dirk has had. I mean, just not only being an international player from Germany and showing that European players are not soft, weak, or they can't survive in the NBA. Dirk Nowitzki, he did pioneer that. But even more than that, he brought the European influence and the stretch 5 who could shoot threes. I'll say later how Larry Bird kind of was the Dirk before Dirk. But Dirk Nowitzki, he was the impact for the 2000s, and showing players and big men more specifically, they could stretch it out to the three-point line and be impactful from deep. He's influenced a whole generation of players from Kevin Durant, Kristaps Porzingis, and even Luka Doncic. And the last thing I'll say about Dirk is, who hates Dirk? No one really hates Dirk. You can't dislike him. And I think the 2011 finals, that kind of cemented Dirk as being one of the most fan favorite and just lovable characters, up there with guys like Tim Duncan, and even obviously Derrick Rose. You can't really hate on those guys. I mean, you just respect them and admire what they did. So that's why I have Dirk Nowitzki at number 5. Now, this is when the list gets really interesting, and I say these next 4 players, these are the elite game changers in the NBA, and they're the most influential players ever. So at number 4, I have Steph Curry. And this man, he single-handedly changed the trajectory of the NBA and the way the game was played. He literally had an impact on all 30 teams in the NBA. I mean, you cannot deny that everyone is shooting threes, whether you're Terry Rozier and you're shooting 25% from 3, or whether you're Klay Thompson shooting 40%, everyone is jacking up threes, everyone's shooting threes. For better or for worse, I won't argue that right now, but Steph Curry has definitely influenced that at the NBA level. And taking that a step further, I mean, he's influenced youth basketball, AAU, even elementary school players, middle school, high school, college. He's influenced all of the game. He hasn't not touched a single aspect of the game that doesn't involve the three-point line. He has players shooting 35-foot threes. I mean, that's unheard of back in the 90s, even the 2000s. And he's really the first player to kind of patent the pull-up 3. You did have players like maybe Gilbert Arenas or someone doing that, but they weren't doing it on the level of Steph Curry. And Gilbert Arenas, he didn't really change the NBA. No one really looked at Gilbert Arenas and said, oh, I have to play that way. That's the way you have to play. In 2014-15 and 2015-16, Steph Curry, he single-handedly changed the way all 30 teams played, and that cannot be understated at all. Now, also, if you go back to that 2015-2016 season, Steph Curry's impact globally with his shoe brand and just the youth. I mean, I can remember walking down the street, walking my dog. You look at kids, they literally had Steph Curry jersey, pants, shoes, and socks on. I mean, it was like Steph Curry mania. And I think the 73-9 season, that was the peak of Steph Curry's popularity. And I think the 2016 finals, I mean, that really kind of, I don't want to say it stopped Curry from reaching his peak, but I mean, that was just a huge blow to his popularity and just how people respected him. And he's getting clowned a lot now. No finals MVP. I mean, back then, Steph Curry was probably the most influential player in the NBA, and I think he's 4th all-time in terms of influencing the game and being a game changer. Now, at number 3 and number 2, it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. I do give Magic Johnson the edge because he was a 6'9" point guard who's kind of the first of that archetype. You could argue Oscar Robertson, but I think Magic Johnson, he really showed that you could be a pass-first player and win a championship. Now, not to understate Larry Bird, but Larry Bird, he was basically a 6'11", kind of stretch four, who was a kind of a Dirk Nowitzki before Dirk, and he was even a Kevin Durant before Kevin Durant. And that's kind of the archetype of those players. They stretch out and shoot the three, they can do the mid-range, they can pass, rebound, they can basically do everything on the court. And collectively, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, they introduced the unselfish kind of basketball, and they showed the people that you could win by playing team basketball. And going back to kind of the late 70s and just looking at Dr. J's era, in that era it was kind of me first, I get mine. And if you look at the 1990s, and if you look at the 1976 finals, Dr. J even says how his team was all about, oh, let me see if I can get mine. And that was that ABA mentality. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, they changed that forever, and they showed that you could win playing team basketball. And the most important thing these two guys did, they saved the NBA. I mean, it was seen as a cocaine league on tape delay finals, and they saved the NBA and made the most lasting rivalry and the most impactful rivalry in NBA history with Magic and Bird and the Lakers and Celtics. Now, moving on to number one, I think this should be undisputed, not even questioned. I think the most influential player of all time is easily Michael Jordan. I mean, you can go several routes with this, but I'm going to start with his impact globally on the game and just how people wanted to be like Mike. You look at Tony Parker to LeBron James, everyone wanted to be like Mike growing up there, whether you were in France or in Cleveland, Ohio. Everyone looked up to Michael Jordan as the superstar and the most influential player of his decade. And if you look at his impact off the court, also with commercials and impacting multinational corporations and having the Air Jordan sneaker brand, that would eventually become his own sneaker brand, I mean, that's unmatched. And if you look at today, this past year, Michael Jordan sold $130 million in shoes. If you look at Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Damian Lillard combined, they only grossed $129 million to Michael's $130 million. Now that just says a lot about Michael Jordan's shoe empire and the empire he really built and how he still influences the culture today with people wearing Michael Jordan shoes. And kind of getting back to his impact on kind of the multinational corporations, Michael Jordan was the most marketable athlete of his day, and he's arguably the most marketable athlete ever. He was humble, his charisma. I mean, he just showed he was an average guy who just happened to be 6'6" and play basketball and be really good at it. And that was an easy marketing strategy. And just looking at Michael Jordan's on-the-court impact, I mean, everyone always looks to the 6-0 NBA Finals. And you look at his iconic moments, they just shaped a whole generation. I mean, he owns the 90s. That's not even debatable. And his impact on ratings, and just looking at the 1993 Finals, how many viewers he got versus the 1994 Finals, I mean, the NBA took a huge dip off. Everyone wanted to see Jordan, and when Jordan wasn't there, that really turned off a lot of people. Even after 1998, the 1999 Finals took a huge dip by almost 50% in viewership. And I mean, that's just the impact Michael Jordan had. And I think the NBA will feel a similar impact with LeBron James. I don't know if it'll be 50% drop off, but I do think he'll have an impact on ratings and people watching. Just for the average casual fan or the viewer who turns on the playoff games, they don't watch regular season. Everyone wanted to see Jordan or they wanted to see LeBron, and that does turn off a lot of people when those players are not playing. And the last thing I want to say about Jordan is he empowered players to think for themselves and go on the free market and invest off the court. And more specifically, I'll look at Charles Barkley. Michael Jordan helped Charles Barkley understand to invest in Nike stock and not just take a huge lump sum check. And that's a huge thing, understanding how Michael Jordan was the first player ever to build his own platform and have his own corporation that makes millions of dollars to this day. And when looking at his impact, I mean, he has the impact in every area. Globally, the shoe market, commercials, and even on the court. Michael Jordan checks all those boxes, and I think he is the most influential player of all time. Now, the last thing I want to say is, I've touched on this subject before, I just want to say Michael Jordan, he changed the paradigm and the perception in the NBA that a score-first player could not lead a team to a championship. And obviously he did that 6 times, but previous to that, it was seen you could only win with like a forward who was an all-around player or a dominant center. And Michael Jordan, he was the first person to change that, and he really did set up the 2000s with players like Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, all those players trying to imitate him and be the next Jordan. And even today with the next generation, You have Zion Williamson saying he wants to be like Michael Jordan when it comes to being a great two-way player. And that just shows how Michael Jordan's impact is still felt today. Everyone talks about him on social media, Twitter, Instagram, even shows like Undisputed. They talk about him every single day. So he is still super relevant, even though he's kind of like a hermit. He doesn't really make public comments. And I hope the 2020 Netflix documentary, when that comes out, I hope that will show Michael Jordan. He is human. He does talk. He does have opinions. And it will show his legacy and how it's impactful even today. So those are my 10 most influential game changers in NBA history. I hope you like the list. I hope you watched the video. And if you want to go through my list again, I have Michael Jordan at number 1, Magic and Bird at number 2 and number 3, Steph Curry at number 4, Dirk Nowitzki at number 5, LeBron James at number 6, Allen Iverson at number 7, Dr. J at number 8, Kobe Bryant at number 9, and Hakeem Olajuwon at number 10. So that is my list. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me hear who you think is the most influential players. Let me hear if I got it right or if I got it wrong. What players you think should be higher or lower, or what players should be taken off the list entirely. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.